Hello. Do you think the Big Brother is watching you? Or that the Illuminati is planning to take over the world? Have you had an encounter with a space alien today? Well, if the answer to those questions is yes, then grab your hat. This is tinfoil hat time. Welcome back to tinfoil hat time. So I had to extenuate the eyebrows on the intro just because one of the books that I'm writing right now, I'm researching with a lot of intriguing books, and the place that I'm reading right now is actually I'm reading the Ozzy Osbourne's life story, and he's talking in chapter 8 about one of the pranks he likes to do is shave off people's eyebrows if they are in his house. So I just kind of had to extenuate, draw attention to the eyebrows today. That and my eyebrows are becoming big and fluffy and creepy, so, you know, why not? Oh boy. So, hello everybody. As you may have guessed, this is tinfoil hat time. I did not write an article. I didn't even find any articles to reference. This is one of those cases. It's sort of like that whole, did anybody ever miss that study where they've automatically tacitly assumed that people want targeted ads? I missed that study. I missed where everybody thinks we all want targeted ads. Well, much like that, our topic today is on user friendliness, and I wager that user friendliness hurts more users than it helps. So, with that, we're going to have a discussion. I found one image I'm going to show. There might be more, and I'm going to let the conversation guide it, but I have a bunch of talking points here. So we'll see what happens. So, let me go ahead and check in. Let's see. Hello, Ryan. Hello, Diego. Hello, Piggy Uniform. Yes, the kitty is here. Just finished setting up Debian. Don't want my latest video. Don't watch your latest video or don't want your latest... Oh, don't watch your latest video. Why not? Hi, Anai. How are you? I love ads. Not. Painful because right now I'm compiling simple screen recorder. What a killer. Is it available in the repository? I thought it was. All right. My tea is hotter than usual today. I've been experimenting with something new. I got a electric kettle. I was doing research as to what's the most efficient way of heating water. And wouldn't you guess it's an electric kettle? Unfortunately, it makes the water a little too hot. So, hopefully my tea will not burn my face off, which would be kind of painful. Not quite as painful as compiling simple screen recorder in Debian, but, you know. All right, so we are talking today about dumbed down by user friendliness. The thing about user friendliness is, now, also I'll say if you haven't watched all of this series on Tinfoil Hat Time, there is another one called Dumbed Down by Technology. There's going to be a lot of crossroads in here. A lot of the similar trends, but there's a little bit of different overlap. That's kind of why I wanted to bring it up a different way. And so what I wanted to look at is this strong proliferation of making systems user-friendly. And the problem with user-friendly systems becomes that people like the tech guys who can, you know, like if you're the computer savvy person of the family or extended family, you know that you're always fixing people's computers. Sometimes it's like when the phone rings, you go, oh, that guy who always wants my help fixing the computer. Now, as a web developer, it's even worse for me because one of the challenges that I encounter is I'll have people calling me up if something's just not working right, and sometimes it's an SUP. If you're in the computer IT world, you might know what an SUP is. That stands for stupid user problem, okay? I literally got a phone call not too long ago from a client in another state saying, the computer says it's on the internet, but I can't get online. And I can't send email right now. Well, Like, maybe call your ISP. Being on the internet, no, you're probably on the network. There's a difference. And then, so I get it times 10. Now, I have one group that I work with that seems to think that I am the free IT help guy. And then they get mad when the hours are a little higher at the end of the month than they would like, but they have to realize if you send me an email on your project, I gotta log the hours to answer it. Yeah, an internet search could have solved that problem for you. Oh well. So, with that, what we are going to look at here is this proliferation of user friendliness and why, what has it done to the individual people? And I've literally pulled out just a group of topics, and I had a couple of conversations with people, and I wanted to just kind of see where they fit on this, and some people came up with a few other things. Let's see, check in here. Let's see. It is in the repository, so Simple Stream Recorder is in the Debian testing repository. Okay, I get it. Yeah, you're right. It is not in, what is it, Jesse? Is Jesse, I think, stable Debian right now? Let's see. Planning on getting a cheap flip phone since I need a phone that works for calling and texting because I haven't paid my smartphone's bill with T-Mobile. You know what? The Android is not on my account right now, and what I actually put on there right now, going back, I got this thing in 2009 when I first started my web design business. It is the Samsung Alias 2. Let me grab that real quick because it's a cool phone. All right. Very simple, but it's a dual flip. We can flip up basically for talking, and we can flip this way, and it'll convert this into a keypad using the digital ink method. So it's just this very nice dual flip phone. Awesome, love it. And I realized that this thing's probably been on my account longer than any other type of phone because anytime I need a not smartphone on the account, that's the one I intrinsically put on the account. So look for one of those if you can find one. It does have a replaceable battery, so you can swap out the batteries, and I think it's a standard Samsung charger. I probably have 2 or 3 of the chargers. It does actually have an SD card slot. In fact, I remember taking some intriguing trips through Colorado, and this ended up being my only camera. It ends up being like a 3 or 4 megapixel camera. So the camera's not too bad, probably not as good as your current Galaxies, but that is a fabulous phone. Absolutely love that phone. So I'm down to 1 smartphone. Yes. I don't really have any motivations of picking up another smartphone at this time. Maybe I will eventually, but I don't know. Maybe not. If things were not as user-friendly as they are, anyone over the age of 30 or 35 would not use computers. No, they would. They would just know what they're doing, and that's kind of what we're doing. But the dumbing down of society, very real and present now, that's precisely what is happening. Mint feels like I'm using Windows. Sometimes I forget I'm using Linux. It's really Pi to operate and holds your hand through everything. All right. Okay, so first topic I wanted to bring up is what has happened in the user-friendly world of email. This is the one that drives me most crazy because I do have a small hosting company that is attached to my website business. And so I'll host some people's small business websites. And so the problem is that in modern day trends, I don't have unlimited server space. I can only buy a certain amount of data. And I think I forget exactly, 10 or 20 gigabytes of data is all I can buy. Well, that's hot. Oh, that's hot. At least not without spending a whole lot more money than I need to be spending. Oh, Kitty wants to come up, I think. Oh, look at that. We get a second dose of the kitty. Hi. Don't use user-friendly stuff. It sucks. All right. So, his ears are going back. He isn't like that. All right. So, the problem is with email. Let's look at email real quick. So, email has a couple different protocols. You have IMAP and you have POP3. Now, POP3 is pretty much what was used for essentially all eternity. Up until like the modern proliferation of free email accounts. And there was a very good reason why you would use POP3. And that's that POP3 will download a copy of your email to your computer. And you can interact with it offline. And then, because back then, of course, the computers were not perpetually on the internet. Ooh, kitty. They were not perpetually on the internet. They were, hi, Anna, how are you? Cool, welcome to your first live tinfoil hat time. All right, so with this, you would get your email going. It'd come onto your individual computer, and then you could interact with it, etc. But back in that day, you were not perpetually on the internet. Okay, so with IMAP, this started showing up with businesses usually had it at your company work-based email, which you really couldn't check from home very much, and things like your Hotmail account, your AOL account, all these other accounts. I think AOL might have had the POP3 capabilities in there as well. But of course, these all have the capabilities, but the default is you use them on the internet itself. And so what ended up happening is, that your system is, you had your email on your computer, and this is what I always recommend people do, because if Google servers go weird and nuked or something, they might have some backups, but they're always for their benefit, not for your benefit. If their site goes down, you do not have your email. You should always be running things on a POP3 so you can back up your own data, save your email data file, and have a copy of your email offline. Now, of course, with this modern world where we have a few different devices and things, how do you accomplish this? Well, you set your email up as a POP3, but it will keep a message on the server. All your devices keep the message on the server except one computer, and 10 or 15 or 20 days down the road, then it will clear it off of the server. Something you can do on most platforms. So that way, all of your devices get a chance to see it. You don't have this giant cluttered inbox. You can delete things off of your phone or whatever else as you need to, and then just keep the one master copy for your backups. But a lot of people now just gotten so used to that IMAP that now the defaults are moving towards the IMAP system. And so the emails stay perpetually on the server, and then you have a new problem that I've just coined recently. I've never heard anybody say it. It's called data hoarding. You ever see the show Hoarders, where people are just accumulating crap all over the place? Well, I call this data hoarding. You're never deleting emails. You got a scam email 15 years ago, and it's still in your inbox. Delete it. Keep your email servers clean and keep your own copy of your backups. And so with the user friendliness, now unfortunately some of these user friendliness are starting to move into newer Linux systems. Well, unfortunately. Now, I still use Evolution or Kmail, and to a lesser extent I'll use some Thunderbird for emails. But with all of that being said, I like to keep the regular thing. In fact, I use Thunderbird for the IMAP required things, like the stupid clients that require me to have Google accounts or the Hotmail stuff or the throwaway email accounts. I use those on Thunderbird. Everything else I use with POP3 on one of the other email clients. So I do those. That way it allows me to keep a copy of my emails for future use. All right. So with this, the email program, somebody help me out here. What is the email program that comes with Elementary, and also it's on, is it on Bodhi, I think? I did a live one of it last week or 2 weeks ago to test it. But the email client that's coming there, you can only set it up as IMAP. And that is becoming less and less user-friendly, because the assumption is you drop in your email, you drop in your password, and bingo, the thing knows what's working. And that's not how you should run emails anyway, because I do not want Microsoft or Google or Yahoo or Verizon to have a copy of my email. You should run that on your own individual domain, on your own individual server, which is not actually complicated. Maybe, in fact, I'll do a tutorial on it someday. And by the way, that's not a server on your own home. You will get your IP blocked pretty quick if you do that. So, all that being said. All right, so I see the comments have been kind of going crazy. So I'm going to switch over to the comment view here and go back and have a look at what's going on here. All right. Okay. I think this is where I caught up. All right, so you want to cringe about user-friendly. How about go to my school? Oh, please, do tell. Do tell. What's so cringe about your school and user-friendly? Any other students in there? Tell me, how's your school getting user-friendly? Is it scary? All right. Anna, by the way, if you notice I don't reply to your comments much, for some reason I can never seem to reply to your comments. But thank you for joining us. It's awesome. I do really like your comments when you leave them on the board. All right. It's everywhere. It's nebulous. It's omnipresent. Okay. There's Samsung Gusto 3. Pretty cheap phone at Walmart. Well, go for the Gusto then. Okay, exactly. Okay. Yes, Mark. Not everybody keeps their emails tidy. Unfortunately, like I have clients that have like 500, 600, 800 and a gigabyte of email in their boxes. And they're like, my email won't work. Delete some emails. Like, what are you doing? Delete some emails. Folders for everything. I'm probably so organized it's messy. Getting rid of Google and going with something called Colab Now out of Switzerland. Yeah, Colab is a pretty cool group. Basically like a, it's a competitor to Google Apps for Work. They use, if I believe correctly, they use LibreOffice. I'm not sure what their email exchanger is, but Colab is a pretty cool. In fact, you can install it on an individual server as well, which I keep on meaning to test out, but I have not had a chance. I switched from Gmail to Proton Mail, which is recommended by Luke Lunduke. Better since it's open source. I'm going to look into Proton Mail. Yeah, I have most of my emails through my own domain names and servers, so that's generally what I do. Too much data mining anymore. Yes, read those terms and conditions. They actually are reading through your things. Evolution, that's my favorite. Blame Google. Yes. Those clients too. Yes. Especially one in particular. Yes. I have a couple of those. It's like, yes, this makes me want to retire from web design. Some of my good friends who might be watching know exactly who those clients are. Don't mention any names, please, if you do. You can say them silently to yourself all day long. $12 for the fur flip phone. All right. Yeah, I still have a couple old flip phones going around. I still have, I think I have a Samsung Convoy around here somewhere as well. So if the alias dies, I'd still have a Convoy. Tutano for secure email, but as an IT tech, I don't recommend POP3. Just keep organized email. Yeah, you know, I do recommend POP3, and the reason is it gives me control over my emails. I can have it for my backups, which I cannot do if I'm running. I guess you can if you're using IMAP, because you can download a copy to your computer on IMAP as well. But for the most part, people don't do that. They use it pure as an internet service. When their internet goes down, they get all flustery, and then they don't rely on, you know, they don't have their own backups of things. And that's why I don't recommend it. Silly old HTML Gmail user. All right, well, we won't hold that against you. Brian Lunduke. I was gonna say who's the other Lunduke guy? I know Brian Lunduke. All right, so let's kind of email. Here's the one I pulled the picture out for. The Edge browser. Me, in the event that I know a lot of my audience is like definitely not a Windows user, just in case, this is the Edge browser. So this is just a photo I grabbed online doing a search on Start Page for images. Now, if you notice something that's missing, somebody, what's missing? What's missing? What's missing? The URL bar! It's there! You actually are already at the top of the page, but you have to scroll up further to show the URL bar. You can enter a web address there where it says search Bing or enter a web address. But when you enter a web address, it's just the same thing as going to Bing and entering the web address. Which, by the way, you can't change the, it's like, this is worse than an Apple. Okay, an Apple on Safari only lets you pick 4 search engines. I can choose Yahoo. Yeah, like I trust those Yahoos. I can choose Bing, because Apple and Microsoft, why not? But who in their right mind? I can use Google, of course, which I believe is their default, or I can use DuckDuckGo. I cannot add other search engines to Safari on a Mac. Makes me crazy. But the iPhone itself is so locked down, they seem to like that philosophy. So even if you install Firefox on your iPhone, you still are stuck to those 4 search engines. Well, at least you have a few choices. Microsoft says Bing. You want to change it? You may not change this, Dave. Please? You may not change your search engine, Dave. I'm going to hack the registry. I will hack it back, Dave. Okay, it will force you to use Bing. So this is kind of becoming this problem where we do not, as people, we're not using search bars anymore, which is kind of an important thing to do at times. What happens if you are looking for a website, and in this modern day world of crazy politics and censorship and streamlining some traffic and not streamlining other traffic, and Google decides that no, a certain website should not be at the top of the list, and you type it in and you get something else? Well, you should be typing things in the URL box. But what Edge did is they removed the URL box. User friendly. Because nobody uses the URL box anyway. That's why Chrome was the first to embed the search function into the URL box. Let's use some addresses a little bit. So, with that, people don't go directly to sites anymore, which you should. By the way, on my super secure system that I use for banking, I went to the sites, verified they were the sites by checking the SSLs, and then I made a hot link to those on the bookmarks toolbar so that I don't use a search engine and I don't type in because I don't want to accidentally mistype something. So I went there the first time, verified it, and dropped them on the toolbar so that now when I log into that computer, those are the only 4 websites or 5 websites, however many websites I've linked to that computer ever will go to. Click on that, it goes in, and that way I'm not mistyping something, and I'm not falling for some goofy thing if somebody wants to do some crazy hacking injection on a search result, which is a possible thing to do. Remember the hack I talked about, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I think it was 2 weeks ago in the news. I talked about this hack where by utilizing different ASCII codes, you could actually spoof what a web address looks like. Well, you can do that on search results. And so it's kind of important to not always be using an internet search protocol to look for a particular website, particularly if it's an important one or one that you go to a lot. Add a bookmark to it. Go directly to sites. And don't use Edge. Please don't use Edge. Don't give Microsoft any potential pats on the back. That's that. All right. Let's see. Great channel, by the way. Thank you very much, Samuel. Appreciate that. I usually use POP3 on Thunderbird. Yeah, I use Thunderbird for those crazy accounts that I need to IMAP into just because I have enough of them to merit its own email client. But yeah, I used to use POP3 Thunderbird for my school email address way back around the time the Earth hardened and I was a student. But of course, I'm not all that old. But you know, hey, I'm a young Earth guy. What can I say? I'll stick with Firefox and Start Page and DuckDuckGo. Yep, Firefox and Start Page for me. Not a huge fan of DuckDuckGo, but hey, it's way, way better than Google. Hello, Lance. How are you? Quant.com. Yeah, I've seen Quant.com. Edge is awful. Yes, Edge is horrible. Edge is awful. Anything Microsoft, I will stay away. I like smooth scrolling in Edge. Well, it's hidden on the start page only. You still have to scroll up to get to it. I always have to fight the stupid thing to get the thing on there. Not that I spend a whole lot of time on Windows 10, let alone Edge. But regardless, when I'm on a Windows 10 spy machine, which, by the way, I booted it on today to see if I'm in the queue to get the creators update yet, which I probably won't be able to get because of how small that hard drive is. But of course, I intentionally turned on all the things just to see how much the thing can advertise me. The thing's giving me advertisements for Facebook in my start screen. All right, show you something. All right, we're gonna go here. Like, here's my start menu here for, like, okay, so I pulled this up in Windows 10 today, and I'm seeing an advertisement for Facebook. Hey, Windows 10, I had to work really hard to get Facebook off this thing. Don't try and put it back on. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Really fast swoosh effect. Turn on genie animations on Compass, I guess. Just ask Siri or the Cortana lady. You mean Eye of Sauron? No, thank you. I don't want to ask Eye of Sauron anything. Hi, Dr. Rob. How are you? I use Thunderbird now, but I might go with Evolution only because Tom said so. LOL. Woohoo! No, I'm actually not Linux God, but I loved your ads script. Just love it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So for Evolution, what distro am I on? I'm on Linux Mint 18.1 Cinnamon Edition. Let me go ahead and pull that up real quick. And I forget the name of the... Did I spell that right? So 18.1 Cinnamon Edition, and I'm on, I forget the name of the theme that I have. I think it's like called Mint Glass or something like that. It's just a theme I found online. I was looking for effects that are very similar to these, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty close to perfect. So I went with that. All right. So yeah, but I like Evolution, and the reason I like Evolution for email is I absolutely love the old pre-2010 Outlook. And if you remember way back, Thunderbird version 2 had the same format. Then what happened is Apple Mail came out back around that time, and then they created the individual folder for every email address, and that drives me absolutely mad because I have, like, I think 15 or so different email addresses, and some of them are 3 or 4 different addresses for the same business that different clients have or interact with for different reasons, and I do not need them all going all over the place. That would become a giant disorganized mess. And so I want one solid unified inbox where it just says inbox, here's everything, dump everything in there, and then I use rules to format it. Well, I can accomplish absolutely everything I do on Outlook 2007 with Evolution, and so that's why I use Evolution. And I'm just not a fan. Of course, then I was happy to see Kmail does the same effect, although Kmail is a little bit harder to set up. Mint rocks XFCE here. Yes. Only use Windows in a frozen state using deep freeze and a second drive to write to. Nice. Apple Mail. Boo. Yeah, unfortunately, I do actually check some of my emails on my Mac. My Mac kind of serves 2 major purposes. Check the junk emails I don't want on any of my other computers, and run Skype, because I will not put Skype on a Windows computer, and it doesn't work all that well on Linux. At least not yet. Although I'll have to check out where the progress is on the Skype alpha, or if they're on beta now. I don't know where they're at now. All right, so we've talked about email. We've talked about the Edge browser. Let's talk about control over your computer. Uh-oh. Getting a connection error. Hold tight. Okay, double checking internet real quick. Well, internet says it's good. Not sure what's going on, but oh well. Can you run Mac software on Linux? I'm pretty sure you can run it in VirtualBox, but I'm not completely sure. Let me know if the stream's not doing so good, because I'm getting a bad stream input right now, notice. But everything seems to be running fine. Internet looks good, so I'm guessing that's going to take care of itself. But hold on tight, I guess. Okay. So, controller your computer. So the first thing that I saw today as I was looking up the general concept is an article back from 2010 on Lifehacker where the guy was quite critical on the iPads. And I thought, well, that's an interesting start, because what happens is they start to produce these walled gardens. And around that time, of course, Mac has slowly been building into a walled garden. Now Windows is building into a walled garden. So it becomes very, very difficult to get things onto and off of. And it's so bad, in fact, that even with my iPhone, when I wanted to install the OpenVPN system, I had no other choice but to get but to use email to put the OpenVPN configuration file on the computer or on the iPhone. I just couldn't get it on there any other way, because you plug it into iTunes and iTunes is like, ooh, we need to update the phone before you do anything. I'm like, I don't want you to update the phone right now. I'm happy with where it is. Every single time that you guys try and update my phone, I end up getting more bloatware crap and things stop working. I want my phone to be working for a while, so I'm going to keep it where it is for now. And so, the best I could do is email the thing, which is not a good way to send an OpenVPN file. But hey, at least I had some extra encryption and some extra passwords on it. Okay. So, do you have control over your computer? It's becoming harder and harder to install new applications. Of course, with Apple, with the let's look first at the phones and the iOS phones and tablets. You are pretty much stuck with whatever's in the Apple Store unless you jailbreak the thing. On a Mac, you can run other stuff, but it's kind of a pain because they start to give you some type of, like, ooh, this is not whatever. And I literally had to turn off security on my Mac to run Bluefish. Crazy. It's like, can I produce one exception for this one program that I got downloaded from the internet and I know it's okay? Nope, you cannot. You have to disable the security to do it. So you have that going for you. Let's see. And then looking at the Windows, of course, they're moving towards a model like that, where if Windows has its ideal world, ergo this is where they're going, is it's going to get to the point where the only way that you can install something on that computer is by using the store. And that may not be on their goals right this second, but you better believe it's on there, because now they become a gatekeeper for everything that's on that system. And now we have this user-friendly store that just allows you to get in there and put stuff up. And that's why Linux. Hey, you know what? We got somebody on here right now that is compiling a program for Linux. Way to go, Linux. Stick to Linux as much as possible. By the way, Piggy, how's that going? Is that compiling for you? Oh boy, so control over your computer. All right, can you run Mac software on Linux? Yeah, I believe that you can get, if you can get a copy of the software, I'm pretty sure you can run it on a VirtualBox, but I've never done it. I have no idea. But I'm pretty sure you can, and I thought I've seen people do that. It was just fine if you can find them. More of a wall of hell, yes. Apple and me is not user-friendly, as most people tend to believe, because it's Apple Way or no highway. Yes, it is Apple Way. There's no highway involved. So, and I agree with that. Mac makes me mad. I have no idea why so many people use Macs. It's like, they drive me crazy. You can't, like, multitask stuff. I was trying to upload some pictures for things, to put things on Craigslist. You know that you can't go in a photo booth and export a batch of photos at once? Now, you can get into the file, open the contents of the file, do all these other nifty things to try and pull the photos out. But I can't, from within the program, export a batch of images at a time. I can't right-click on a folder and see what's the size of that folder on a disk space and how many files are in there. And don't ever highlight a bunch of things on a Mac, right-click and view info. Yeah, do that on Windows, no problem. Do that on Linux, no problem. It gives you a total summary of all those. Mac opens an individual little box for every file. I found this out one day when I was trying to view the information. How big is a folder that happened to contain 100 little files? I right click, and there went the computer tumbling down as it opens 100 different info boxes all over the screen. Like, oh God, who in their right mind uses these things? Oh, Apple. At least Windows has a little respectability. Just a little. Vanished. Wow. Thank you, Richard. I will keep posting videos as long as I can. Mac started out great. Now they are for snobs. Yeah, that's pretty much I think all the Mac says. All of it, like, they should literally make them just completely gold-plated with a big old panel on the back that says, I use Macs. I waste excessive amounts of money on fascinating bling that does nothing. We used to say, like, you know, a Mac is a very beautiful device that is pretty much non-functional, and it's pretty close to that. For famous people and rich people. I do find it funny if you pay attention, like, since I'm a computer geek, I love paying attention to what operating systems, if any, are displayed on TV shows. And I remember Castle, which I believe had their last season last year or something. Castle used a Mac, and it was actually a Mac. But I watch a lot of Leverage, and they were obviously funded in part by Microsoft, but all their systems that they're using in there are Linux. It's kind of funny. Many years ago, I don't remember why I went back. I think it was because Ubuntu has great community support. Like having 200 windows open with one click. Pure genius. Yep. Absolutely. Pure genius. All right. Let's see. I have a few like non-computer things too. I was going to see if there's anything else computer related. Okay. So control. How about safety using the internet? This is a neat one. We've talked a little bit about this with Bing and their not having the URL bar there quite as easily, or at least not initially, I guess. And with that, yeah, you're not washing this brain. This brain's protected with a tinfoil hat, because I made this hat from aluminum foil. Okay. So with the user friendliness, we're forgetting how to surf the internet. We're forgetting how to install programs. And if you've done any work helping somebody solve their computer problems, particularly on Windows, you know, the thing goes down because there's like, I think, what's the highest number of viruses I've seen? I thought I'd snapped a photo of it. It's somewhere to the effect of 83,000 viruses I pulled off a Windows computer once. Because, you know, they go online, you download something, it brings in the Ask toolbar. Of course, it was the duplicating virus. It just using testing. Yeah, you know, Piggy, I've actually used the Debian simple screen recorder from testing. No problems. Everything needs foil the way things are going. Yes, buy stock and foil. That's my stock tip. All right, so, but we don't know how to safely use the internet anymore. And this is a big challenge. You guys are like, oh yeah, whatever. You know, I was telling some people about this recently, some friends. It's like, some people, like, a web form pops up and you just fill out all the information. It's like, why are you filling out all the information for some random pop-up that just showed up in your face? No. Stop. Let's put on a hat, think that the world's out to get you, and then maybe you'll just slow down. We'll get more into that when we talk about solutions. All right. I can enable the repository, install SSR, then remove Debian testing. Yes, that would probably also work. Look up Sheeple on Webster. Apple's debuted a battery case for juice-sucking iPhone Or an ungainly, lumpy case for sheeple will happily shell out $99 for it. Yeah, I actually, when was it Office Depot in our town went out of business last year or 2 years ago, something, I went there and just started forking out money for a lot of small random things that I thought was useful. A lot of thumb drives. I got my little Lenovo S21 for like $80 or something new. But one of the things I got is a battery charger. Let me grab that because it's awesome. Hold on. Whoa. Okay. This is like the most impromptu tinfoil hot time ever. So it's a PNY portable charger. Of course, you can buy these on a lot of different things, but what I liked about this charger is it is actually a 2.1 amp output. That means this can power a Raspberry Pi. So I literally can take this, throw it in my case with my Raspberry Pi, and now just because I have a RetroPie gaming system set up, now I have a fully battery operated Raspberry Pi system that I can merely plug into any TV with an HDMI port. But this will also charge up to two different, up to cell phone twice. And so that's a very useful thing to have, especially if you travel a lot. Just a fabulous device to get. Of course, you can get the smaller ones. Probably wouldn't want to power a Pi with it, but much smaller systems. So those are pretty fun. But yeah, I took this with me out west this summer, and it was good to have that around because you get an extra cell phone charge when you're tramping around and in nowhere's land. Linux Mint was forked from Ubuntu. Yes. Yeah, Ryan, I'm not surprised. The iPad 3 never showed up, but yeah, and that's the problem is that we're not teaching kids how to functionally and properly and intelligently use the internet. And we've taught them that if somebody hands you a form, you fill it out. And so what happens is a pop-up form fills out, you give all your information, and you don't know if it's a scammer, something legitimate, or just some company that's going to add your information to some database. And so that's the problem, that we're not teaching those types of basic things. Okay, sad news. My local Radio Shack closed. Huge sales on switches, 90% off for some stuff. Raspberry Pis rock. You need to get one. I use mine for gaming systems, a VPN system. I'm going to do another one for a media center when I can. It'll probably be a while before I can do that, but we'll see. Ways. Yeah, I didn't include that. I'm going to talk about GPSs on here too. I'm going to add that to my non-computer end. I have some fun stories in that. Beagle board. I have no idea what a Beagle board is. Let me look that one up real quick. Okay, let me just do it over here. It's like, this does not want to copy paste. Well, I don't know. Let's see. So it does have some Debian. It has a similar processor type. Does not have as much RAM, I don't think. I don't remember, though. I don't know. Try it out. I mean, worst case scenario, it doesn't work. I wasn't taught not to fill that stuff in. Nobody was, Ryan. Nobody was. Kids need an education on how to be smart. I know this because I used to be a teacher, as kids would just be like, okay, yeah, and that's, yeah. Of course, I did my teaching before all this, all this smart technology was out in full scale, and I haven't really taught since the 2010 boom, but, yeah, interesting. All right, So next one is online versus offline. Like, you remember when you actually had to intentionally put the computer on the internet and the rest of the time it wasn't on the internet? I remember when I played my first ever online video game. We had Warcraft 2 going, and I called my friend's house with our computers, and we played a game of Warcraft 2 together. And my orcs totally decimated his humans. I gotta tell you. Now, of course, it's pretty easy. So, but what happens though is with everything perpetually being online, perpetually connected, we have problems with discerning what is the difference between your computer storage and what is the cloud storage. And of course, Microsoft is trying to muddle this even more, or muddle this, not muddle this, but muddle this up even more, in that it's just trying to so deeply integrate OneDrive that you could be sending a whole bunch of stuff up to Microsoft's cloud without realizing it. And that is kind of a challenge. And what happens is we get so used to the cloud being there that we do not take personal responsibility for our data storage. So, in this digital world age, we should probably be more cautious about just sending everything up to a cloud. But what we should be doing instead is taking stock of what we have, doing appropriate backups. And this is part of my plan as I'm going through and cleaning the house up right now, is I'm also working on a digital data plan so that I can figure out what data that I have, figure out which data needs to be connectable through a NAS, which data does not need to be connectable through a NAS, and then figure out a way to make sure that I'm always getting the appropriate amount of data use, and then figuring out how to have safety or backup copies of data without having to rely on the cloud, which means being a little bit more intentional, and I'll talk about that a little bit more here, but we need to get out of the plan of just putting everything in cloud and using the cloud for our personal storage. We have to learn how to run programs again. Like, if you're using Google Docs, you don't ever have to save anything. Well, that's a bad habit to get into, or not into. Okay. So make sure we're saving programs. Make sure we're keeping our files locally on our computer, not sending everything out to the cloud. Only throw something up to the cloud if it has to be on the cloud. But the user friendliness of the cloud is starting to muddle those waters. All right. Oh, boy. Filling in from someone you don't know or just a random fake stuff. Yeah. Maybe you not know what the cloud really is and is not a generic term. Yes. I do not cloud at all. Yeah, and I don't either. I have a NAS drive in my office, and that's my cloud. And eventually, I'll actually get one own cloud working on that and be able to connect it with an app. But details. When I have the time, I need a round to it. No, I don't. It's just lower on my list of priorities. All right, so those are kind of the computer program things. The cloud is somebody else's computer. Actually, that's my last point. If you're utilizing all these clouds and all these services and your Fitbit data is going up into the cloud and everything else is going on, who owns those files? I know that if I have a file on my computer over here in my office, that's my file. File belongs to me. Well, if my file is on OneDrive, Microsoft's cloud, or Google Drive, whatever Google's Drive is called these days, or on iCloud or whatever else, Google Drive, I guess. What's Google's Drive called? Google Drive. Oh, duh. Well, now we are muddling the water. Whose file is that? Do they have access to see it at any time? Yeah. And those are challenges that we have with all of this stuff. But by the user friendliness of it all being there, in fact, I remember when I got some of the first USB drives that had backup software, I'm like, you plug it in and it just starts wanting to do all this stuff. Like, what are you doing? Stop whatever you're doing. Couldn't even wipe the things. Had too much firmware. Of course, now I know you can. USB formatter. I'm getting all sorts of like weird noises in here. It's like seismic activity. Like recently, I started noticing this closet door just constantly. It's kind of weird. All right. Better use this cloud on my computer. Yes. Correct. I got sidetracked. Someone needing data pulled from a non-booting Android. Totally. What? All right. So, let's move on to some non-computer things. All right, non-computer things. Phone numbers. I talked about this one on the Dumbed Down by Technology. How many phone numbers do you remember off the top of your head? I need to get better at this. You should know any of the important contact phone numbers that you need. You should know all of them. Okay? And with that being said, what's happening is it's so user-friendly to just pull this guy up and go ahead and just come up onto here and click contacts and push the button and dial. Well, I don't know what these people's phone numbers are, and I should know what these people's phone numbers are. That's something to keep in mind. With the user-friendliness of this, and of course now, as I found out not too long ago, is that it's becoming harder and harder to easily transfer contacts back and forth. So maybe we should take the time to put all of our contacts into an offline address book of some form or another and make sure you have that handy. And I used to do that. So that's kind of something I need to get back into. And it's on my list of things to include in this data plan that I'm working toward. But phone numbers. We're not remembering phone numbers anymore. I have 0, I haven't paid my fill. I know 5 of them, but the rest I do not know. No, 1. So it looks like most of us are on the same boat. I think I know my mother's phone number. Let's see. Okay, I think I know a friend of mine's work phone number, which is probably good enough. What other numbers do I know? I remember my old best friend's phone number, but he's been dead for a number of years, so that's not helpful. Other than that, not really. You know? So keep that in mind. I have spirit visitors. Yes. Does anybody know some Latin? Anyone want to do some exercising over here? And I don't mean lifting weights. All right. 2. And I knows 2. All right. Other things. I pulled this one in because I thought it was an interesting discussion point. Cash versus a credit card. Of course, we're getting to the point. In fact, I did tell you about the other day. I remember talking about it somewhere. The other day, I go to the grocery store and I, hand out his $13 or so worth of stuff. I hand the kid a 20. Kid's like a high school student probably. Hand him a $20 bill, and he's just so wrote, push button, open drawer, close drawer, grab receipt. So I hand him a 20. He opens drawer, throws 20 in, closes drawer, hands receipt. I'm like, change? But what happens is, and what I've noticed lately is fewer and fewer cashiers know how to count change. So let me help you out. If you're a cashier, you have to work a cash register. When somebody hands you the money and it is $13.25, let's do $13.24. How do you get up to the change? Well, you count out from reverse. So it's $13 and $13.24. So you say out of 20. The first thing you do not put the money in the drawer. You put the money up on top of the register so that there's no dispute about how much money he handed you. And then you count up in the change up to the nearest dollar. So 24 cents. So grab a penny. There's 25. 3/4, 76. So 76 cents. And then, so now that is 14, 15, a 1, and a 5. 20. So 76 is your change. Okay. So you count it up rather than than trying to do any other weird substitution type stuff. But what happens is even cashiers don't even know how to handle money anymore. So it's just like, like I worked cash register at Burger King before they took credit cards, and you know it was just became rote skill, and there was never any dispute, and we never had any problems with our drawer. But it's just like, stop using credit cards for everything, people. Like, stop using credit cards for everything. Like, slow down, slow down. Of course, that applies to debit cards as well. Cash is your BFF. Yes, best friend forever. Tell you, Uncle Ben, you're going to go buy some groceries, Uncle Ben. Common Core cashier. Yeah. No, Common Core. Common Core cashier. Let me show you how Common Core works. Okay. Common Core education is going to work like this, okay? So you got your notepad, and the total was 13. What did I say? 1324 is your total, right? Now, by my method, you count up. So you go, okay, you have a penny up to 25, and then 3/4 up to 76, and then $1 up. That was 14, $1 up to 15, and then a 5. So it's a nice build-up process. Common Core, for you teachers or people wanting to be a teacher, Common Core will do this. Okay, he gave you a 20. So what I need to do is I need to subtract 1 from this 5 different times. 19, 18, 17, 16. This is Common Core. I kid you not. 15, 14, 13. Okay, now we're at 13. Of course, now we got to go from there to 24. And so let's do 3, let's see, 25, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then, of course, now we have to subtract 1 from this because of the differential of our change. So it's $6. Okay, hold on. I'm still working your change. Okay, let's see, 13 and was it 1324? So I'm going to get rid of the 13 because we can't have decimal points. That's too complicated. So 24. Okay, I got to get 24 up to 100. Okay, so 25 is 49, and then 25 is 74, and then 25 is 99, and then 1. So 1, 2, 3. 3 times 25 is 75, and then plus 1, 76. Okay, so I need to give you $6.76 back. That's Common Core. That's why Common Core is stupid. I kid you not. But it's so stupid. I was trying to help a kid out with his long division, and I'm like, what in the world are they trying to teach you? I was still a professor at the time, so I teach him how to do long division, and he's like, this makes sense. I understand this. And he does all his homework perfectly fine in long division. And he got it all wrong because he didn't do it how the teacher wanted him to do it. So I take the stuff to the math department. I say, what is this crap? They say, we don't know, but we have to teach it. Okay? To put it in better perspective, No Child Left Behind is like saying we can't have any child winning the race, and so we have to handicap every child so that he cannot run any faster than the slowest child. But as much as this sounds like a far-fetched way to count change, if you have not seen Common Core long division, this is exactly how they do it. Look it up. And then get a hold of your legislators and say, what in the world are you people doing up there? Never mind, I don't want to know. Spending money like drunken congressmen. Oh, they are. All right. So, cash versus cards. Tablets and phones, of course. I think we already talked about that. The GPS, this is fun. So I used to be a geocacher, and I was actually one of the highest rated geocachers in our state. I think I was number 6 in the whole state where I lived, and with the educator, like, or with the geocaching, there was a time when we literally have to go out with a field GPS. We have to know what we're doing. We would download the waypoints, drop them into the GPS, and if we wanted any notes about the GPS or any hints or anything else, we would actually have to take those with us in printouts. You go around, you'd log you find your geocache, and you'd have to come back to the computer again and log them in. Now, it became cool when the smartphones came out, because then they had integrated GPSs and all this kind of things. Well, all that was okay, and that was a huge step up in how you would do geocaching. But with GPSs, now with car GPSs, even cell phone GPSs, people do not even know how to drive anymore. Like, they don't know how to read maps. Reading a map is a skill everybody should know in this country if we have cars, okay? But having a car GPS, you start to become over-reliant on that device, and you have no clue where you're going. You're just following Lady Miss Howell, who's trying to drive you off a cliff every now and again. In fact, I wanted to write a book about that, the homicidal GPS unit, but it never got off the ground. But anyway, GPSs is something that we have to, it's great to have them, and I have a car GPS, and it's a handy tool to have. But I use it more for timing recommendations, or to find if I'm in a strange place, where's the nearest gas station. Great application for GPS. But to get me from here to there, I don't want to rely on that device. All right. I wrote down cars here. As cars are getting more user-friendly, they're going to automatically brake. I do not want to see what happens with a car if it automatically brakes in the middle of a locust swarm driving down the heat of South Dakota. About 5 or so years ago, I'm shooting across the plains in South Dakota. There's a huge grasshopper swarm, and I was picking grasshoppers out of my engine compartment for months. But man, that might have been enough to trigger enough sensors simultaneously to cab the car while driving down the interstate at 80 or whatever miles an hour. Have the thing slam on the brakes because it thinks something's in front of me. No, it's just a grasshopper. Trust me, I'll be fine if I hit the grasshopper. But then another car right behind me. I don't need my car to automatically brake for me. The thing is, there is a level of human responsibility that we have to keep in mind. And with the level of human responsibility, we need to realize that things are not always going to be perfect, and there will be some accidents, and we will lose some data. But it's worth it to not have lost our mental capacity in so doing. So those are kind of the topics that I had. Let me talk about some of the solutions I came up with. So list your solutions to being dumbed down by user friendliness, and I'll tell you what mine are. I only have a few. Okay, so my first solution was be intentional. And this goes for everything. It takes intentionality to use cash and to not use a card. Okay? Or as Dave Ramsey likes saying, an adult is a person who devises a plan and sticks to it. A child is a person who does what feels good. Well, intentionality is developing your plan and having the fortitude to stick to your plan, at least most of the time. But if we start becoming feelings and emotion based, then we just start spending and spending and spending. But that's the entire purpose of the marketing arm and all of these ads that we started talking about. Is it's all there to get you discontent. And so they want to make you discontent. So now that I'm discontent, I'll feel as though I'm missing something in my life, and the thing that I'm missing is the thing you're trying to sell me. When I buy that little thing, now I'm content inside, until I realize that wears off. And it does wear off. The new computer wears off. If you are a kid at Christmas, or if you have kids at Christmas, look at the excitement on the new presents around the Christmas tree. And in a day or two, it wears off. Like, by the time you go back to school, or the kids go back to school, they've already stopped playing with the new things that they got, because the effect of it, the rush of it, the high of it wears off. But consumerism drives us to attach gifts and presents to every one of these different holidays. And so being intentional is to devise a plan and stick to it. And in terms of this, devising a plan and sticking to it means that we're going to learn the routes and how to read the map rather than relying on the car GPS. Not that we're leaving the car GPS at home, but we're going to do that. We're going to intentionally develop a budget and use cash and not debit cards. Even debit cards are dangerous. You should use the debit cards. Like I use a debit card to pay a couple of the bills I can pay online. Other than that, I don't use them anymore. I just stopped, and it's cash. It's cash or it's bust. And so have that. As far as computers, it takes intentionality to decide when and how you're going to do your backups and to choose to do that and to choose to keep alignment with all of your different files and things like that. So intentionality is the first step to overcoming this. The second step to overcoming it is resist giving companies your data. Again, tied in with intentionality, talking about the whole concept of this. Giving the companies the data allows them to breed in you that level of discontent. The more that the companies know about you, the more they're going to be able to breed that discontent. And by us allowing them to give us OneDrive and Google Drive and iCloud backup and all these things, it's great to have a plan to back up your devices, but you also want to rely on yourself and on your personal devices rather than just randomly pushing everything up to the cloud, because we don't know who else has access to that. Even if the people don't get access to that, like of the companies, hackers can probably gain it. Of course, Apple learned that. Let's see. That's how people just buy and buy, and I'm thankful I lead a minimalistic lifestyle. Yeah, and it's like the minimalistic lifestyle is appealing to me so much. Like I had that goal of finding 30 books I can leave to community libraries. I think I've actually found 60 I'm getting rid of. Yay! Not the ones behind me. These guys are my commentary collections for doing a lot of the Bible studies that I do. So those are actually sticking around. But I am getting rid of a lot. And I've actually taken, I think in total, like just last night, I think I took 5 loads out to the dumpster. I think in total so far I've taken 10 loads of things to the dumpster and 2 boxes to Goodwill. I have another box of Goodwill to go. And tomorrow I should be out dropping off 10 more books to another community library. I'm just looking for all the community libraries around the community, and I'm just dropping off a bunch of books in each one of those libraries. And then I'm going to be doing the same thing with, I have this extensive sermon collection, and all of those are like perfectly legal to take a copy of and then pass the disc on to somebody else. So I have all the copies on digital. I'm like, they're not helping anybody sitting in my closet, so I'm going to disperse those throughout the community libraries as well. And somebody will pick up a CD and a sermon and listen to it, and maybe the fact that I have a sermon hoarded on my shelf is preventing somebody else from hearing something that's going to help them in their life. And that's something I'm working towards doing. So I guess living the minimalistic lifestyle is also the way to not be dumbed down. Let's see. You search for an item on Amazon and then get an ad on Facebook. Yep, that's why Facebook is blocked in most of my computers. Yes, Mark, I am a Christian YouTuber. I actually have a YouTube channel called Our Walk in Christ that I have not updated for a long time, but it is actually going to be the 3rd major channel that I ramp into. But there's a few interesting commentaries over there that you can find. Yeah, I mean, I can't get rid of all ebooks, and even all these. This is the full John MacArthur commentary collection, the big books here. They're actually all pretty much free online. You can gain all the text for them. There's something for me I love about holding a physical book. I've loved books forever, and so That's kind of the way that I run. And so I don't want to throw all my books away, but I'm certainly getting rid of a lot of them. Like I have some classic books, like, oh, you got to see this one if you're a geek. That's not it. Oh, there it is. It's like I was staring right at. I got like some old early editions. Like if you're a geek and you like quantum mechanics, this is a Linus Pauling quantum mechanics textbook. First edition, 1935. You know, and this one is Irving, Walter, and Kimball, which I think is the second edition. 1940. Oh, this is the 12th printing. So this is nothing really, but the first edition printing of a Linus Pauling quantum physics book is just like, yeah, that's cool. I'm keeping that around. Went to that site, Tom. Looking forward to the cooking show. Yeah, you know, I gotta get my logo working. I just don't have time to work on it a whole lot, and that's what's holding me back on the cooking channel. Is I still need to finish my logos. Maybe I'll just go with something short that I have for now. I don't know. We'll see what I do. Keep it simple for now. All right. Pastor and best friend is like that. He loves physical books in hand. Yep. Can't stand reading books online. Yeah, some people can't. Some people love it. Some people don't. I look at computer screens so much, so I just like the physical book. I'll try and go easy. Tell you that quantum mechanics is one of those very few things I've not been able to fully grasp in my head, although I'm not sure most people have. All right, last thing on my list. You guys keep throwing those in there, it's take the time to learn about the things that you use. So I have my example point here is I have a TI-85 calculator. This is the old classic one. This isn't the new USB version. This is the old classic one that needs a COM port to work. And I got this calculator in high school. It looks like I might actually need to... There's a little bit of corrosion down there in the batteries. I might need to change my batteries out in this. Oh well, I'll work on it a little bit later. I need to change my batteries, but it's... And this calculator is like absolutely awesome. In fact, it was working just today as I messed with it, but as I just flipped that battery around, it's like, I wanted to stop working. So I think what I just need to do is pop out the batteries and just replace this couple batteries in here. But the thing about this calculator, woo! Sulfuric acid in the face! Sweet. Well, I guess that's not sulfuric, that's something else. Probably lithium. Yep, I just need to swap out the batteries. But when I got this calculator in high school, said it was just working yesterday or earlier today, I decided that I was going to take the time to learn how to use it. And the reason is, these are expensive calculators, and my mother, we did not come from a good background, like a wealthy background, and this was a good few days of working for my mother to buy this, but it was a required thing at school. So I'm like, I'm not going to get a $100 calculator to add and subtract on. So it comes with a manual that is this thick, something like you don't see anymore, but it teaches you all about things. And I actually read this manual, which includes all sorts of programming, all sorts of things, and I figured out how to use this. And it is thanks to this calculator. Thanks to this calculator, I actually scored a B instead of a C in calculus, because I used it to check on my work. Well, most people don't know how you can check calculus work with a calculator like this, but I figured it out because I had read the manual. And so I wasn't just adding and subtracting with a $100 calculator. I took the time to learn it. And that's what you need to do, is really take the time to learn all those types of things. So those are my points for today. Let's see if there's any final points of discussion, and then we'll see what we get from there. I have my Bible on my phone. I like it because it saves my highlights and bookmarks. Yeah, until the phone crashes, but you know. And I actually read the Bible. I read the Bible one time a year at a minimum, and I actually do that on the phone, just because it's nice and quick and easy to just plow through. And then I do my extensive studies out of actual paper Bibles. So there's that. Yes, old technology lasts for decades. I will probably be buried with that calculator. I don't think you could spell bad words like you can on an old calculator. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you don't. In fact, I remember some of those bad words. I'm not going to repeat here. Now we have all of the younger audience thinking, what do you mean? Is TI-83 for everything? Store name and numbers, tallies, invoices, track. Yes, TI-83s were pretty cool. People, governments, economies of all nations must serve the needs of multinational banks and corporations. Scary. So I have that calculated because of her hard work to get it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she knows I still have it or not. I don't know, but I used it. I used it through college. Through high school, and then used it through college as a physical science major, and then I used it as a professor as I taught physical science, and then and then I used it as I was doing academic software sales, and then I was now it doesn't get quite as much use as it used to, but I still like it here and there. We really like doing a lot of fun programming on it, things like that. I had one thing, if you don't mind, before you leave. What are your plans as far as how the ad boycott is affecting you? Will I remain long-term on YouTube or jump platforms? Well, I'm still getting a decent amount of views on YouTube, and so I'm certainly going to stick on YouTube for as long as I can, although I am thinking about putting some videos other places. But I guess that's a good enough thing to say. If you like the channel and you want to help support it, I am on Patreon. So patreon.com/Tom M, and I'm working towards goals of getting that stuff all updated as much. I also have Amazon, and I think the Amazon links are already in the video description here. Patreon should also be in the video description as well. So yeah, I'm sticking. Yeah, the ad boycott is definitely affecting me. In fact, I think my revenue is down like 35 or 45%. And so that's bad, but 35 or 45% less than what I was is a whole lot better than the fact that most other platforms I really can't monetize much at all. So yeah, it's affecting me. It's a challenge. I would like to get the Patreon going and the Amazon going, and that's kind of the goal. Just as a couple teasers, I am throwing some stuff up there for free content. I'm putting some of it behind the paywall, but I'm not posting up there every single day yet. Is kind of the goal to do that, but that is certainly what I'm doing right now. And again, the more support like that, and the more ad support I can get, the more videos I can do. I've had to slow down a little bit because, well, what I'm making on YouTube does not quite pay the bills, and I have to pay the bills, especially since it's tax time right now, and that really hurts for small business owners. If you don't know, small business owners have to pay even more in taxes than other people because, well, I have that fun, exciting self-employment tax, which is just horrible. And so I have to work extra hard right now to try and come up with, rebuilding the savings that I've lost and figure out how to get that last little bit into the government so that they can, rob me completely blind. So with that being said, I think this is a good time to wrap up. So thanks for watching, everybody, especially since my stream just said it's not receiving data fast enough. I don't know. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Let's see. I'm going to try and do another live show sometime this midweek. I may or may not be able to do a live Friday news. I don't know yet. I have a few plans later this week that are potentially in the air, and I will let people know as soon as I know what exactly I'm doing. I'm going to try and do like a midweek live something, maybe just a distro review or something live, whatever. But anyway, that was that. So thanks for watching, everybody, and have yourself a wonderful evening, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux with a tinfoil hat.